Welcome to Shelaborate. I'm Kath.
And I'm Kyra. This is our podcast for the girls, from the girls.
We're telling our stories, hyping up women who inspire us, and shelaborating every step of the way.
It's time to give you the girl talk you've been waiting for. Let's get into it. This is episode 3. We are so happy to have our first guest. She's invited us into her home. This is one of our really, really good friends. In our very first episode, we introduced her using the code name Columbine. In case you're just joining us now and thinking, code name, what does that mean? All 6 of the girls in our friend group have the same tattoo. It's a bouquet of flowers and the text, for the girls. Each of the flowers represents one of us. The flower representing our guest today is the Columbine. It's the state flower of her home state of Colorado. She's joining us today to talk about some of her experiences in the military, finding her style, and life.
Thanks, Maya, for being on the show. Could you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Hey, I'm Maya. I'm a YouTuber, content creator, cat foster mom, a witchy girl / artist / photographer / videographer / all the things. And I got out of the Army a couple years ago, and now I am doing the complete opposite with my life.
What Maya doesn't tell you in her introduction is that she joined the Army in 2016, and she served as an engineer officer for 4 years before she switched over to special operations. She decided to get out of the military and is now pursuing a career in content creation on YouTube and social media.
I'm doing a lot of work with my camera and a lot of just experimental stuff with what I want to do to make money. And that's kind of the fun part of being your own boss, is you can have multiple streams of income and you can decide which part you want to put more effort into. A lot of my content surrounds my style and finding my style, my home decor. I also have recently stumbled upon, I suppose, getting into witchy sort of things.
So tell us about your style, because I think that's kind of like a big thing that we want to talk about, because it's very unique. It's very you, but it's also not necessarily something that I think you've always had or been doing. Yeah. You know, at least as long as we've known you.
Yeah. So when I was really little, I was super girly, but I also was raised with brothers. So I had the side of me that was constantly playing in the dirt and running around barefoot and climbing trees. I grew up in Colorado, so we were always in the mountains, but I always loved girly things and fairies and fantasy things and dressing up and all of that. But I never had a sister to show me how to do that. And my mom was also not very girly, so I didn't really get a lot of information from her.
How to be a girl.
While interviewing Maya, Salem, her black cat, decided to join us and jumped up on the table.
Oh, well, my cat is joining us.
Hello, another guest.
This is Salem. Yes, another special guest. He loves the camera. But yeah, so I just learned that I loved it, but I had no idea how to find my style. I just knew I liked whimsical, long, flowy skirts and dresses and whatever. And then one day I joined the Army as an adult because my whole family, my whole family's been in the military, both my parents and my brother.
Maya's mom and dad both served in the Air Force, and her younger brother is currently serving in the Navy.
It felt like a rite of passage, and went through that and kind of hid that part of myself, my girly side. And I know we've talked about this a lot, where you feel like you have to be a shell of yourself in order to fit in. And so I crammed the girly, creative, whimsy side of myself down as far as I possibly could, which essentially gave me no personality and made me very unhappy. And then when I got out of the military, I started finding that version of myself that I knew the little girl was truly who she was. Yeah. And when I started just not caring about what people thought, and being girly was okay, and being into witchy things and fantasy things and dressing a little different than most people was okay, and it's what makes me happy, I started finding my own style that way.
Yeah. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because we've had a lot of conversations about being a female in the Army and feeling like we can't truly represent who we are, or we have to like hide that part of ourselves. I remember when I saw a girl one time in camp and she had like this pink bag, and I was like, oh my God, we can have like pink bags. Like I can like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you think you had a click moment in the military where you were like, wait a second, I can like this stuff? Or
Yeah, I had several actually, but I remember the first time I experienced this was I had a watch, and this was a very plain, ugly Walmart watch.
Yes.
We
all
had
the
those.
same watch we
The
all
same
have
watch.
for every school.
Right, but I like one of the options of the plain ugly watch from Walmart had like the tiniest little bit of pink accents on it, right? And I bought the watch and I was like, I'm going to be a little different and just like show off that I'm actually a girl. And I remember showing up to my platoon for the first time, meeting my platoon sergeant back at Fort Hood. And the first thing he said to me before anything else was like, you got to lose the pink watch.
Whoa.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, if you want to have any sort of respect around these guys, like that won't fly.
God forbid.
God forbid I wear a tiny pink watch.
You're like, they
crazy. It's just crazy how like your competence and your ability to do your job is tied so heavily often to the way that you look or the way that you present yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it was like all throughout my career in the Army, it was different times, and there'd be certain places where it was worse. Certain places would be better. And sometimes, you'll just get random comments about your appearance that, you don't really understand why they're commenting on that. I used to be blonde, naturally blonde.
For those of you listening and not watching, Maya currently has long, wavy black hair. She's wearing gold star and moon jewelry and a stylish pair of overalls. She recently dyed her hair from naturally blonde to black because she felt like it fit her style and personality better.
While I was in the military, I was very blonde. And I just remember people like being like, wow, your hair is so blonde. Is that in regulation? Like, your hair is so blonde. Or, like, you're like, we're tall, right? Like, we're really freaking tall. So like when we wear a lot of stuff, they're short, right?
Oh yeah.
And I had people comment that I was too tall for my uniform, and I'm like, they don't even make a uniform the size for me for
trying
women.
to find one that's like not too big around your
I had to get mine
waist
tailored.
or like around your actual body, but actually long enough in the sleeves. PSA to the Army, please make more women's sizes for the clothes because
we do come in
tall
sizes taller than 5'6".
Do not fit. Like I need an extra small long, but they still make the extra small.
They're still not long enough.
It's way too small for me. In every facet except for around my body.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. So just like little things like that, it was like I was just constantly being picked apart for things that like didn't matter.
Yeah, they almost see you as a female first before an officer, and then you get judged based off that. Like before you'll ever get judged based off your competence. Yeah. And that's something that I've always found so frustrating. It's like, judge me by all means how I perform in my job, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
If I'm a officer, by all means, but like, don't judge me as a female.
While listening back to the interview with Maya, it was so interesting that when describing feeling like she had to hide being a woman to fit in better, she used the example of people commenting on her uniform. Part of why service members wear a uniform, outside the obvious functionality, is, to unify everyone wearing it, show solidarity, ensure that all of the members of a group are like one another. Maya's example perfectly highlights how often as a woman in the military, it can feel like open season for people to continuously comment on your appearance, even when you are literally wearing the exact same thing as everyone else. No wonder having a pink bag or wearing a watch with a small pink bezel ring on it feels like a serious act of rebellion.
Well, and I became really hyper aware of my appearance. And I growing up, every girl is, self-conscious, whatever. It's like a rite of passage, unfortunately, in this time in history. But I became so hyper aware of my appearance that I would you do your bun. I'm like checking every angle with a mirror to make sure there's no like little flyaways, that I don't look ugly, or like that my nails are not the wrong shade of whatever. And like, it's crazy. I don't wear too much makeup, but wear enough makeup so that I don't look tired or unhappy. Like, I was just so hyper aware of that it flooded over into my own personal life. And I found that like, I had no sense of style. I had no sense of personal self, like identity, really. I was just sort of like a ghost of who I wanted to be, just floating around life. And like, that period of time in my life feels like it happened in the blink of one eye, because I have very few memories that are like,
Wow.
yeah, like the best memories I have, honestly, are like meeting you guys and like doing things with you guys. And that's sad, but it's sometimes you go through stuff like that. Like the universe makes you really uncomfortable so that you're like, okay, I gotta move. I gotta go somewhere else.
This isn't it,
Yeah,
like,
this ain't it, girl. So I was like, yeah,
nope.
You right.
I feel like an experience that I've had, and maybe it was similar for you, you need to be pretty, because if you're not pretty, then people are like, oh, she's just like the ugly bitch. And if you're too pretty, okay, well now you're trying to, flirt with everyone. And it's like there's this never ending battle of like, well, I am a woman and I want to look and act a certain way, but if I look and act a certain way, if I even have a pink notebook, or I
get my nails done.
If I get my nails done, which is in regulation.
Or God forbid, listen to a Taylor Swift song around a man.
Yeah, like, while you're in the gym.
God forbid.
Yeah, while you're in the gym.
Yeah.
Okay, well now I'm too girly. And being girly means that I'm either less competent, less capable, or I'm flirting with everyone around me. But then the flip side of that is I feel like women either are categorized as like, okay, well, they're trying to sleep with everyone, or they've resigned themselves to like, well, I don't want that reputation, regardless of my actual actions. So as a result, I have to become a guy. And that's kind of where I fell into like early in my military career. I would at home dress and act a certain way, almost to the point of if someone at work saw me outside of work, I was unrecognizable. Like they literally wouldn't even recognize me as me, because they were just like, oh my gosh, that's what you look like outside of work. And I'm like, yeah, I love dresses. I love heels. I love sparkles and glitter and that and bows and ribbon and frills. And that is genuinely what I love. But they did not know who I was at all. Like at work, because I was just like, I am a robot of myself. And when I look back at that time period in my life, it was sad, because I was like, no one here actually knows me, like the person that I am. I am a capability to them. And if I show them my true self, they literally think less of me.
And that gets lonely.
It does.
And you're like, I'm spending 12 hours a day at work. I mean, realistically, that's what we were doing.
100%.
And you're like, I can't be myself. Like they can't see that, because that would be terrible. And that's why, you look back and you're like, I don't need to go back to that.
Yeah.
person.
And it's funny because like I'll talk to like other veterans, like who are males, and they're like, oh, those were the good old days. Like sometimes I miss it, whatever. And I'm like, I don't miss it at all. I'm so good. They're like, oh, you didn't have a good experience. I'm like, no, I didn't have a good experience. I had good people I met.
Yeah.
But I really didn't have an experience that I thought it was going to be. And like, I regret a lot of decisions that I made that led me to the decision to like join. And I wish that I had a different experience, because I wanted to serve so badly, but it didn't turn out the way that I had hoped it would. And that's like a realistic thing, is like, you may have an idea of what you think is going to happen, but unfortunately, like being in the Army, you are just whatever they need you to be. And like, that was a tough pill for me to swallow, because I feel like I was constantly like fighting to get to where I wanted to be. And then eventually I got to kind of where I wanted to be, and I still wasn't happy. And I was like, all right, like.
For those of you not in the military, we want to take a second to explain something. The military has always had a very strict dress and appearance standard. Service members in the military still have to adhere to strict height and weight standards. There are still uniform inspections and an entire regulation on standards and discipline. If you're curious at all, you can just Google DAPAM 670-1. Maya followed all these regulations. She passed her uniform inspections. She showed up to work dressed like everybody else. There are lots of little things outside of the regulation, though. For example, the Army physical fitness uniform, you have to wear sneakers. But the Army doesn't dictate what brand or what color you have to wear. So, for example, if you wanted to wear pink shoes, you can. If you wanted to have a pink water bottle or a pink phone case or wear pink shower shoes, you can. You're allowed to wear a dress or a skirt or something feminine to an annual unit barbecue, or if the uniform of the day is civilian clothes. These are the types of things that we're talking about. There are these small areas where every service member gets to choose their items that they purchase with their own money based off their individual preference and what they want to wear. Now imagine for a second, instead of buying the color that you like, the style that you like, for items that do not matter, you always pick what looks the most boyish or boring, items that are the shade of olive green or black or tan, because you're told that your watch with a little bit of pink isn't going to fly. Even when you are in uniform, you follow every single regulation, you pick a boring color, you hide being a woman, and people still make derogatory, backhanded, or snarky comments about your appearance. It just doesn't end.
And the interesting thing too, and I was saying this yesterday, when I started to like fully find myself and my style, I changed a lot on my Instagram because like a content creator, and I just started putting out outfits that I liked and style and home decor and just talking about certain topics that I felt important. And I had like a mass unfollowing of people who knew me in the Army. And it's really interesting because it speaks on the same thing you said, where they didn't really know me and they're thinking now I'm being fake and now I've changed.
Wow, you've changed.
Yeah,
You've really
like,
changed.
I'm like, if you knew me before the Army, I'm more like I was before the Army now than I was in the Army. And so it's really interesting how you can go through these ebbs and flows. And I always say this, but when you're a woman specifically, but anyone, when you turn 30 or right around when you turn 30, you go through something called your return to Saturn, and it's basically like a new rebirth of who you are, a second puberty, some would say,
if you will.
Yeah, if you will. And it can be really tough, and you get lost, and you don't really understand like why things are different and why you don't like things that you thought you would, or why something's not fitting for you anymore. And that, I think, if you can recognize you're going through that and you just fully embrace it and just like go with it, that is when you find the magic in life. And that's when you figure out like, damn, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm having this like rebirth because I'm supposed to go somewhere else. This is my second chance in life to find who I am, because my 20s were kind of a mess. For most people, they are. And I think your 30s are supposed to be like, no, this is where I'm comfortable being. And so that I feel like it's really important to lean into that. And that's how I found my style, I think.
We asked Maya to describe her style.
All right, so think of the movie Practical Magic meets Esmeralda meets
I love that.
old grandma who lives by the sea.
I love that.
Yeah, that's it's very eclectic. I probably can't like throw one word on it, but cottagecore, whimsy, fantasy. Sometimes just jeans and a t-shirt will do it for me, but that's the fun part of being a girl, is you can like experiment and wear whatever the heck you want. And because I work from home most of the time, I have no one to judge me but my pets. So I just wear dresses a lot in my own house, and it's fun. Like honestly, like I've gotten a lot of inspiration from creators I follow on like Instagram and all that, and they maybe work from home or whatever, and they're like, yeah, when I do the dishes, I like get dressed up because why not? Like it's fun. It's for me. It's not for anybody else.
Look good, feel good.
Yeah, look good, feel good. Like walk around the house in your freaking fairy gown. Like I don't know, whatever makes you feel good. And I feel better even though I'm not leaving the house when I just like put effort into myself and wear what I want to wear. And that's not for everybody, some people really don't feel comfortable getting dressed up.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I think is the most important takeaway from this, is like do what makes you comfortable and makes you happy. And if you don't like to get dressed, stay in your pajamas all day and that makes you feel good, that's fine too. But I'm happier when I actually put effort into the way that I look. I am like one of those people who wants to paint. I want to draw. I want to do photography, videography. I want to do ceramics. I want to garden. Like I've been so into just trying scrapbooking, like everything. And I'm not good at most of those things, but like it's fun to do them. And like now I actually have the time to do these things. And like when men say women don't have hobbies, they mean They need to meet our friend group.
Yeah, we have
we all have some very
lots of hobbies.
Yeah.
to include podcasting now. So
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges or maybe things that you had to overcome with like content creation or like coming up with some things that like made you happier that in the last 2 years you've had to kind of deal with?
I think grieving the loss of the version of yourself that you're saying goodbye to when you change.
Oh, wow.
Even though that person, I don't identify with her anymore, I like love her, you know, like she was so sad all the time and just trying her best, but it's not who I am. And it was hard for me to let go of that for a while. Specifically with like working out and stuff, I was like, I have to be like super hardcore intense, like CrossFit and all this stuff. And just so everyone knows, I suck at CrossFit, and I've always sucked at CrossFit.
That's actually just not true.
that is not true.
It's actually just not true.
Strong and fast.
No, not. I held on to this thing that I needed to be like the fit girl, and the fit girl who like, you know, rough and tumble and doesn't care about what I wear, whatever. And letting go of that to step into this like new role. I read this book where this woman was talking about, as a woman, you go through 3 stages. You have your maiden stage, your mother stage, and your crone stage. And the maiden stage is like when we're young and we're exploring, we're trying to figure ourselves out. We're like gung-ho, adventure, all this stuff. And the mother stage is not necessarily that you're a mother, but you just feel more like maybe you're in a caring stage. You want to care for something. You want to build a home. You want to like be around just a spot where you feel comfortable, and you don't want constant change. You just want to feel like your energy is peaceful. And then the crone is obviously when you're older and you're wiser and you've passed all of these other things. So we're not anywhere hopefully near that. But I feel like I was transitioning from the maiden stage to the mother stage. And that was really hard for me to grieve the loss of my maiden stage. Because it's like, you know, that's the fun part of you. That's what we think of as like the coolest, funnest part of our lives is like the maiden stage, the adventurous stage.
I feel like I'm in that like mother stage now.
I feel like, well, I hope that you can maybe like transition, right? Like maybe you're
maybe
like
go back and
stuck
forth.
in one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to think I'm always kind of stuck in like my maiden, always trying to like chase the next adventure. But I think a part of me always is going to crave like that. Settling down, trying to find like that home to build. But I don't know if, and I guess truly, I don't know if that'll ever make me happy.
But that's like some people, it really, you know, it looks different for them. And maybe you skip from the maiden to the crone.
Straight to the crone.
Straight to
or maybe the
old wives.
Or maybe like the mothering stage for you is just like not moving, you know, and like having a house. You own and you live there, and it's like, you have like a peaceful life, even though you still chase your adventure, but it's a little less, it just looks different. And like, that's like the cool thing about being a woman is like we can really just like define what it looks for us.
And I think it's cool when you get a group of women or people in general that are like very different. I mean, we're objectively all like very different people. We have very different hobbies. We're like all, I mean, personality wise, like pretty different. And then getting to like cheer for each other and watch each other be successful in our own things without any competition, I think is cool and is fun to like just have that. And like, no, I'm not into like the artsy things, but I love watching you guys like do your thing over here. I'm like, I don't know, but like love that for you guys.
The book Maya is referring to is Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés. It's available on Amazon, so we'll link it in the show notes for anyone who is interested in reading more.
Maya has been going through the process of getting her full arm sleeve tattoo removed.
Tell them how much it hurt, because I'm sure that's people's like
people want to know.
Question.
I'm lying, it hurts so bad.
We know that's not true.
Oh God, just if anyone tells you it doesn't hurt, they're either a sociopath,
they're a liar.
Or
they're
a
liars,
masochist, or they're a freaking liar. So it's gonna hurt. So, the tattoo is, if you're not watching this, I have a sleeve on my right arm that I started getting when I was at Fort Hood, which is the beginning of the depression phase in my life in Texas. And I got the sleeve for several reasons. I was feeling incredibly lonely, and I felt like having some sort of like thing to help me bond with my peers, because of course everyone in the military has tattoos, would make me feel more like in a community, more like of a part of things. And I know, like, I'm sure someone's shaking their head right now, like, why would you tattoo yourself to feel like you can fit in? I get it. My frontal lobe was not fully developed. But I did it in a sense of just wanting to belong. And the tattoo that I got, it was really beautiful. It was done by this tattoo artist in Austin. And he worked with me for a really long time. We did, the back of my arm is like a warrior woman, like an Artemis type figure, and her 2 dogs, which I labeled after my 2 dogs, which essentially
We're around here.
We're around here somewhere. We're my only 2 friends for a very long time. As sad as that sounds, like they were with me through everything. And so that girl on my arm sort of in a way represents that person in my life, like me, who I was during that time. And as I got out of the military, I realized like I didn't identify with having this on my arm anymore. I still love my other tattoos. In fact, we all got a matching tattoo. Like, I'm not anti-tattoo anyway. Just to put that out there, I love my other tattoos, but this tattoo reminds me of that older version of myself that I'm trying to let go of. And it doesn't fit who I am anymore. And I mean, luckily we can remove tattoos. It just takes a while. So that's unfortunate and it's expensive, but it is doable. So that's the beauty of that. But really, I can't give anyone advice on getting tattoos or anything, because I do post my journey online. I get a lot of very mean comments about it, which is weird. I didn't expect so many people to be so angry.
What's the weirdest comment you've gotten?
Well, I've had 2. I've way more than 2, but 2 stick out to me. One told me that my tattoos look like I got them in prison.
If you didn't catch that, someone told Maya it looked like she got her tattoos in prison.
Okay. And then another guy, this one was the funniest and most ridiculous, but he told me that I was so dumb for ruining my beauty with my tattoos and then trying to remove them, that I clearly have a mental disorder and clearly should not be allowed to vote.
Maya's voice trailed off a bit at the end. She said that the commenter told her she shouldn't be allowed to vote.
It's given me some tough skin for sure. Like
Which you had. Which you did have.
I've had before, but I would just, rather than like really not caring, I would just ignore it.
Yeah.
But like it sort of would like eat away at me on the inside.
Okay.
But now, like, if people say like that, I'm just like, dude, I love my life. Like, I don't give a what you think.
How long has your tattoo journey been so far?
I started removing it a year and a couple months ago. It's like more than halfway gone.
Oh yeah.
It's really nice. So they're saying it'll probably be gone maybe in another year.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about a 2-year process for me because I'm very, very pale.
So it's longer because you're pale?
No, it's shorter. So because I'm so pale and I have only black ink, the laser works off of contrast, so it picks up the contrast in your skin. So if it sees like you're really tan and you have like a color tattoo, there's very little contrast with that, so it takes longer for it to pick up.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the one time in my life being pale really
helped out.
Helps out.
Yeah,
Maya has been sharing her tattoo removal journey through her YouTube channel.
my favorite part about this whole thing is getting messages from people, and not even just tattoo related stuff, but just sharing my life online and being like honest. It's like messages from people who are like, I love watching your videos because you just remind me of like one of my best friends, or like, or like I'm going through the exact same thing, and it's so cool to see somebody like actually talking about it, and or like I just got out of the military and it's really cool to see someone who like cares about the things that I care about, and that makes me feel really good and makes me want to keep going, and it creates the community that I've been longing for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think like the representation is so important.
Yeah,
Like just being able to see people going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I see it as like on social media, like it's not a mistake necessarily. It's just something that you like look back and you're like, I just don't need this in my life anymore. I don't need to look back and like think about that. And like, you kind of own it. You're like, just not my season anymore, and like this is who I am now, and like that's what people I think should see.
People are really caught up in the idea that you can't change and you can't change your mind and you can't like fix things that you've made in the past that were mistakes. I feel like after I've gotten out of the military, I've become such a nicer person because I'm happier and everything, and I just started to be like nice to people because I was so like unhappy before and I just wasn't as friendly as I could be, and So if you really truly are like on the path of like, I want to be a good person and I want to be genuine to who I am, like you're going to want to be nice to people because it just makes you feel good.
Since leaving the military, one of the things Maya has been exploring is her spirituality.
Yeah, so I'm very new with tarot and witchy things. I categorize myself as a baby witch.
If you didn't catch that, Maya said she's a baby witch. Modern witchcraft isn't about broomsticks, curses, or old Hollywood tropes of green skin, long noses, and warts. It's a living and evolving practice rooted in intention, ritual, connection to nature, and the self. It's a blend of ancient traditions drawing from folk magic, astrology, tarot, and modern activism, feminism, and healing.
I'm learning, and tarot is one of those things that's been really interesting for me because I think it's very personal and people can interpret the cards very differently. I think it's based on intuition, and I would say that's one of my strong suits is being intuitive.
Before tarot became a spiritual tool found on the altars and nightstands of want-to-be witches and mystics, it started as a card game. That's right, tarot didn't begin with fortune telling. It was born in 15th century Europe, most likely in Italy, where it was originally called tarocchi. Wealthy families commissioned ornate decks for a card game. Think bridge, but with a Renaissance flair. These early decks were hand-painted, luxurious, and packed with medieval symbolism. It wasn't until a few centuries later, around the 18th century, that tarot took a mystical role. Enter the occult revival in France. Scholars and esoteric thinkers began claiming that tarot's imagery wasn't just decorative, that it held hidden wisdom, and even ties to ancient Egyptian magic and the Cabal. From there, tarot evolved. It became a tool of divination, self-reflection, and storytelling. By the 19th and early 20th centuries, new decks like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, created in 1909 by A.E. Waite and illustrated by Pamela Smith, revolutionized tarot as we know it today. That deck, rich with symbols and archetypes, is still one of the most popular and influential in the world. Today, tarot isn't just about predicting the future. It's used for journaling, meditation, therapy. It's a mirror, reflecting what we already know deep down, even if we don't want to admit it. So whether you believe in fate or just enjoy pulling a card with your coffee, tarot is less about telling the future and more about reading the present with clarity and intention.
Not to get too deep here, but like struggled with anxiety and depression like really bad for a long time. And I would pull, when I started getting into witchy things and witchcraft and the occult, I would pull myself a tarot card every day and it would like give me an intention for the day. And they're not negative, like you can interpret it how your brain needs to see something. And it would give me like a purpose for the day. Like, okay, this is today I need to do this because my card says this is what matters today. And that's my purpose for the day. And even as little as something like that just gives you purpose or gives you intention, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, as far as like reading for other people, I'm fairly new. So again, when I was younger, I was like just into like fantasy things and spooky things. I've always been like a spooky girl. I have had my relatives on my dad's side, my uncle and my aunt have always been very like woo woo, a little witchy, a little like they love fairies and all that stuff. And I used to love visiting them, and they like had a yard that felt like a secret garden, and it really inspired me to just start loving that kind of thing. And I always longed for a community that like loved nature and that sort of world. And honestly, my dad is a pagan, so that sort of like is very similar. He's not really practicing, but he is like somebody who believes in that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I wasn't raised Christian. I wasn't raised pagan. My dad is pagan. But I knew the community people get from religion in general. I always craved that, but I never felt aligned to Christianity.
Can you explain like paganism a little bit?
Yeah. So I think, to be honest, paganism is in tune with the natural world. And I don't know like a real quote. Like I could be totally misquoting or misrepresenting it, but my interpretation of it is just it being in tune with the natural world. It's very, very old. A lot of holidays in the Christian religion actually pulled from pagan holidays, and witchcraft is very similar to pagan because they celebrate very similar things. So they have like different holidays, multiple holidays throughout the year, like there was just Beltane, which May 1st, that celebrates like the very first day of summer in that sort of religion. You have like Yule, which is around Christmas and celebrates very similar things. And I just felt
to me, like being connected to like the natural world and in a way the universe and just animals, like that to me felt more real and more tangible and made more sense to me than, you know, a more traditional religion. And not that there's anything wrong with traditional religion. I just couldn't connect with that. And I just felt like, especially this is a very women like focused type of, I don't even know if it's a religion or not, but sort of like spirituality. And I just think that's really cool. And I've just been finding that that is where I feel the most connected and drawn to. And also the aesthetic of it, like on a very surface level, is very fun. It's very cool.
The word pagan gets thrown around a lot, but is often misunderstood. Maya says she might be misrepresenting it, but does a really good job explaining it. Historically, pagan was a term used by early Christians to describe people who don't follow Abrahamic faiths. Basically, anyone who isn't Christian, Jewish, Muslim, someone outside the dominant belief system. Modern paganism is a broad and diverse umbrella of spiritual paths that honor nature, celebrate the cycles of the earth, and often look back to pre-Christian traditions for inspiration. Paganism is where seasonal festivals like the solstices and equinoxes, the idea of gods and goddesses, of the elements like air, fire, earth, water, and a reverence for ancestors and the land come from. Some pagans follow more structured practices like Wicca or heathenry, and others mix and match established beliefs from Celtic, Norse, Greek, Slavic, or indigenous roots. Often when someone says that they're pagan, they're saying that they walk a spiritual path that honors the earth, celebrates the turning of the seasons, and seeks intention and magic in everyday life. Would you be willing to do a little tarot card reading for us?
My trusty little tarot.
Just happen to have it.
Love that.
I actually did just happen to have it. Again, I don't know so much like the history about it. I know that it was created and it's been changed a lot, but there are like specific, what are they called? They're like, give me that. They're called the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana are like the biggest cards, the most like main cards, and then your minor arcana are like the smaller stuff like the cups and all that things.
Before Maya does her reading, let's break down the anatomy of a tarot deck. Most traditional decks are made of 78 cards. Like Maya says, they're divided into two main sections, the major arcana and the minor arcana.
The major arcana consists of 22 cards and represent major life themes and spiritual lessons. Think of them as milestones in your personal journey, transformations, big life transitions, and turning points. The major arcana starts with a card called the Fool at 0 and ends with the card the World at 21. These cards tell a story called The Fool's Journey, which is a tale of personal growth, challenge, and enlightenment.
The minor arcana are the remaining 56 cards where tarot gets personal. They zoom into day-to-day experiences, thoughts, emotions, and relationships. They're divided into 4 suits, each with its own elemental energy. The first suit is Wands. This is the fire element, and they are symbolic of passion, creativity, and action. The second suit is Cups. They're symbolic of the water element and represent emotions, intuition, and love. The third suit, Swords, is the air element and represent thoughts, truth, and conflict. Finally, the last suit, Pentacles, is the earth element and represents money, career, and the physical world. Each suit has 14 cards numbered ace through 10, as well as 4 court cards, a page, a knight, a queen, and a king. The numbered cards show progression, cycles, and situations, while the court cards represent people, personalities, and aspects of yourself. In short, major arcana are the big picture of your life, minor arcana are the details. Together they give us a layered lens for understanding ourselves and the world around us, one card at a time.
So for you, and what I did for all the people who were here a couple weeks ago is I did a past, present, future spread. You can do like your daily intention spread, which is what I was doing before. You can ask a question and kind of interpret that. So, I mean, it's up to you what you want.
Let's do a past, present, and future.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah, I love it.
Maya takes the cards and starts shuffling them back and forth. Then she spreads them in front of Kathleen across the table.
I just pick one?
So think of your past, and then pick whichever card calls to you. And don't flip it over yet.
This one's calling my name.
Okay. shuffle this again. And there's different ways to do this. Like my friend Katie, she's much better at tarot than I am. She pulls the cards for you, and she shuffles it, and whatever kind of comes out and shoots out. So that's one way to do it. I kind of like doing it like this because I feel like you're more included in it.
Okay.
Now think of your present. Okay. And now think of your future.
Since I don't know it, I'm going to close my eyes.
Like it.
Kathleen has 3 cards in front of her face down on the table. Maya puts away the rest of the tarot deck and asks Kathleen to slide her the cards across the table in the order she drew them.
Past, present, future.
Past, present, future. Okay, so we'll start with your past. So the Knight of Cups. So basically you have a book that goes with your little tarot deck, and it's going to give you a synopsis of what the card means, and then I try to interpret it based on my intuition. And you can also take your own sort of like interpretation from it.
Okay.
Maya flips open her little book and begins reading.
The Knight of Cups. This knight is confident, charming, and wonderful to be around. They instantly draw you in, but be aware they're not focused on you. They're focused entirely on their cup, and they're constantly looking for those brand new feelings of love and passion. This is a relationship that won't last for long, as much as you would like it to. If the knight is you, you've been chasing feelings a little too much and need to take time to nurture your existing friendships and relationships.
Dang.
So my question is, do you think that you are the knight, or are you thinking of a specific person?
I think it's not. I think it's somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it would be you at all. I do feel like you've, in your past, have had relationships that were fleeting, like with people who weren't like...
Yeah, we're terrible.
Yeah.
And,
People who did not deserve you.
Yeah, people who are just looking for like the next high kind of
Yes,
thing.
who are not
exciting. You're an exciting, adventurous person.
I did like the first part of that, and then when you got into the relationship stuff, I was like,
That's not it. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So past is basically saying that like you have dated
We haven't
people.
found it yet.
Yeah.
Is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
your past is like, you know, you need to...
We're not there
Yeah,
yet.
stop dating people like that. All right, Queen of Pentacles. That's your present.
Oh, Pentacle?
Pentacles.
Maya moves on to Kathleen's second card, the Queen of Pentacles.
This is your present. This queen is rich in more ways than one. She has a stable and simple life that she has filled with things, people, and activities that bring her joy. She is nurturing and generous, seeks to bring happiness and provide a sanctuary to those she loves. If you are a queen, it's time to be nurturing and caring. It could be as simple as taking some time to cook a meal for a good friend or buying a cute plant for someone special. Be kind, it suits you. So this is interesting because you were just talking about how you were like, you felt like you're definitely in your maiden phase, but like part of you kind of craves the like,
Yeah.
memory. So I wonder if this is like saying, you know, maybe take a little bit of time to like take a beat.
Slow down.
Yeah.
I do think that my last 2 years have been very chaotic with like work and just like everything that's going on. And I feel like I've hit my stride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because it is like a very is that a word? Transitional? Transitional?
Yeah, transitional.
Part of my life with like getting out of the army, but I genuinely haven't been this happy in a long time with like all the hobbies that I've been doing and like just doing the podcast and like spending time with people that I love spending time with. So that resonates on like just that level of like.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, you've kind of reached a point where it's like the chaos no longer suits you.
The chaos does not suit me.
So maybe you are transitioning.
Maybe I'm into my motherhood.
phase.
Also, wait, can I point something crazy out? As soon as Maya flipped the Queen of Pentacles card over, I was freaking out. A few weeks before we recorded this podcast episode, I drove up to visit Maya with our other friend Lilac. For fun, Maya did a little tarot reading. Our other friend drew that card.
Did she?
She drew that card. And then when we did like a daily intention one, that is the card that I drew. And there are so many cards in this deck.
You saw I shuffle, not well, but I shuffle.
I just think it's so wild that like, yeah, I think that you can interpret these cards however, but it's interesting to see we're all such close friends and we all draw the same card. It took us a few minutes, but we eventually got over our disbelief and Maya moved on to Kathleen's future card.
Seven of Cups. Wait, didn't you have this?
That was my future.
Stop.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And this card,
We should have taken pictures of everyone's start. I'm gonna take a picture of yours.
this card was what I drew, and this was before we started the podcast. And
wait, you're right.
This was the card.
That's so weird.
And Maya, yes. Okay, wait, read it. And then I'll tell you what Maya told me, or if you remember, you can tell her, but I remember exactly what you told me. Holy smokes. Okay, I was already mind blown that all three of us had drawn the Queen of Pentacles. But when Maya flipped Kath's future card as the Seven of Cups, and it was the same as my future card, I couldn't believe it.
Love, spiritual wisdom, money, success, power. It seems like all the treasures are just out there waiting for you to grab. You're dreaming so big that you're in the clouds and totally out of touch with reality. It's time to step back down to earth and do the hard work required to be mentally healthy. Only then can those big dreams become attainable. And I think I might have said this for you too, but it's like one of those things where you're like talking about it, whatever it is, but you don't have a plan for it yet. And like this sort of thing is like, you need to just do the thing.
That is exactly what you told me. Yeah. You were like, you keep talking about this podcast. You keep talking about all of this stuff that you wanted. Yes. Yeah. You were like, you keep talking about all of this stuff that you want to do. Just do it. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. Why are we not just
doing it?
Why are we not just doing it? And here we are. Okay. So for those of you who are skeptics or thinking, who cares if you drew the same cards? And for context, I was a bit of a skeptic myself, but let's give credit where credit is due. Maya, if you needed some empirical facts that you just might actually be a baby witch, here's some numbers to back you up. The chance of an individual drawing the same card as someone else is 1 in 78. So for 3 people to draw the same card, you multiply those odds, 1 by 78, giving you a 0.016% chance that 3 people would draw the same card. When we drew our cards, we did a 3-card spread. So the number of unique 3-card combinations from a 78-card deck is 456,456. That's right, 456, 456. Now the chance that 2 or more people independently draw that same spread in the same order are about 1 in 208 billion. Basically astronomically unlikely, but apparently not impossible. That is so cool. Thank you for doing this little reading. So if someone wants to get into this, what do you think the best way to kind of like get into this, get their own start, or try it out?
I would say, so there's a lot of bullshit out there that I've learned. There's a lot of like witches trying to give you tips and like sell books and whatever. And that stuff can be fun, but like I was talking about this with my friend Katie, and spell work is very personal, and spells feel like a bit of a silly thing sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go cast spell, but really all it is just sort of like, you know, you use lavender for luck or rosemary for protection, like these sort of things. You can use these in your own way, and that's a spell. And then people like to make these spell books and sell them as, you know, their own version of the spell. So you really don't need that. What's important is learning what certain ingredients do, or what certain crystals do, or certain decks do. And then you take it and run with it. Because I think the thing I love the most about witchcraft is so personal. And you can really just like create your own craft with it. There's different types of witches and different types of practices. And that's, I would say, like a good thing to look into. Like, what type of witch do you want to be? Like, I would say I'm like a green witch because I love to garden. I love like plants and animals, and I'm connected to that. But there's so many different types of, there's like a kitchen witch, there's a hedge witch, there's forest witch, a sea witch, like all of these different things, whatever you feel the most connected with. And, you know, start doing research with that. And books are really interesting. I think there's a lot of very cool history about women healers, which is where the initial "where you're a witch" thing came from. It was just women using remedies to heal. And that's a very interesting history to look into. So I think that's important to look like where your, you know, the women before you came from and why you're allowed to do this now. And I think that's important. But I think, so if I had to wrap it in a pretty bow, don't listen to bullshit. Like, you know, make sure that you're not wasting your money on stuff that doesn't really matter. 2 would be to figure out what kind of witch you are, figure out what you're drawn to. And then 3 would be learn the history and then go from there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like kind of the perfect way to end the episode too. Your advice on becoming a little witch.
Yeah. Oh, and number 4 is don't give a what anyone says.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being on our show and for sharing so much with us. If you guys are interested more in Maya's life and her journey, check out her social media. We'll link all of that to our show in the show notes so you can find out more about her and connect with her. And hopefully we'll have you as a guest on our show often. Yes, spooky stories, Halloween episode with Maya for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Stay tuned for our next episode.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Shelaborate. We can't wait to bring you more episodes.
Don't forget to follow, like, and drop us a review. Our episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Patreon.
If you liked the show, post it on your social media and pass it along. Women supporting women is the whole point.
We'll be back next week with more opinions, more stories, and more shelaboration.
Until then, I'm Kat.
And I'm Tyra. This podcast is for the girls.